and welcome to the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go for a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. This week's episode, we're going to be going over Miss Pandaria, we're going to be going over Gamescom that's going to be happening as well, and a couple of sort of other bits and what we might want to see at Gamescom, my opinions on Miss Pandaria launch and stuff like this. As always, we do have the weekly news. We have Orta, the Broken Mountain, and the Gobfather as our world bosses for the week. They are located within Ashkahet as well as the Undermine, so you can go there, get some loot, get some gold, do your weekly business with them. The War Within Dungeons, BFA timewalking, and pet battles are your bonus events for the week. I didn't think that there was ever more than 2 bonus events, but I clearly have been proven wrong here. The War Within Dungeons, you get an extra piece of gear from completing said dungeon. Battle for Azeroth Timewalking, you can get Timewalking badges, and you can purchase reputation, cosmetics, and mounts with these sort of things. So very much worth doing if you are looking for any of these reputations or cosmetics. And pet battles are simply you get more XP for competing in pet battles for your pets. Very simple and very straightforward. Deepwing Dunk is your brawl for the week. This is a Deepwing Gorge battleground, where essentially you have one of 3 orbs that you take to the enemy base and you dunk it into the hoop, as it were, and score some points for your team. Very simple. First team to a certain amount of points wins the game. It's amazing. It's quite good fun. And it's a different take on a battleground, to be honest with you, because you're never usually running at the enemy base. You're usually running just in between your bases, like that you've captured in Arathi Basin or something like that. So, I do have a quick apology to make. Apologies that there was no episode last week. The reason for this being I just needed... I couldn't get around to it. I was out of the country for a few weeks now and had these episodes set up like beforehand, and I just couldn't get around to it before I left. So I do have to apologise for that, but we are back on regular scheduling right now. So hopefully you can forgive me, and let's carry on with the episode. I'm going to try a different approach to these episodes. I'm going to try and give you what is happening, what we would like to see, and sort of end it there. I want to be very punctual with it, but still give my opinions across. So it will still be around the same length, but a lot less rambling is what I'm hoping for. So bear with me whilst I try and make that transition. There still might be some rambling, like there is now. But yeah, I want to try and get to that point, if that makes sense, because it's a lot more informative for all of you lot, rather than just me rambling. Sometimes I will ramble, it is one of them things. But let's start off with Gamescom. Gamescom is going to be on August 19th is the opening reveal to August 24th. Yes, August 24th. It's really weird. It starts in the middle of the week. Wednesday, the 20th of August is when it opens its doors in EU, in Germany, Cologne. And Sunday, the 24th of August is when it closes. This is for people who actually have tickets to go there and to sit in and watch it there live. But for those who are sitting, watching at home, and everyone else, actually, it's going to start on the 19th, where they will, basically be on a live stream and conducting their business there. What is going to happen, and I don't know this personally, but I know that this is what's going to happen. It's going to load up the stream. They're going to be like, oh my God, are you all excited for midnight? And then they play the trailer. That's it. And then they're like, okay, so this is going to be set in a post-apocalyptic sort of Azeroth. This is what's happened after the previous raid, Manaforge Omega. This is what Dimensius has done, all of this stuff. And during the 5 days that they are at Gamescom, they're going to be going over different things. They're going to be going into a deep dive with Holly Longdale, Ian Hazakostas, and essentially going to be going into the new zones, mechanics, new features, and the story for the upcoming expansion. So these, what are they? The deep dives are usually very good to watch. They give a lot of informative stuff on what is going to happen in this expansion. Now, obviously, they're going to be talking about player housing. They're going to be talking about other bits and bobs like that is technically in that expansion. But I'm more looking for mechanics. Okay, the mechanics is the important thing to me. So mechanics in World of Warcraft are something that will change your character or have a big impact on your character from day-to-day life, from doing PvE to PvP and everything in between. Okay, these mechanics are sometimes very small and they are sometimes very big parts of your character. So, for example, in Shadowlands, you had conduits, you had covenants and stuff like this. This is a big part of essentially your character. It's a massive part of your character, actually. And for, let's say, a small part of your character is talents. I say it's a small part, but like talents are obviously massive in the grand scheme of things. But like changing a couple talents here and there, this is a small mechanic that people fine tune the more and more they get used to the game, kind of deal. There's probably a smaller mechanic in the game that's like a lot easier to describe, but that's kind of the one that first popped into my head. And I know talents are one of the biggest things in World of Warcraft. I know. But it's just the thought of what came up first, okay? Because they've been a staple point in WoW throughout years. So, you know, it is what it is. Now, here's the thing. I would like to see a few things. Power like conduits, okay? Or powers. So kind of like conduits is what I meant, sorry. This is what I mean with mechanics. I want to see a sort of conduit system where you have a few different choices into go into more a defensive choice, a more offensive choice, or a more sort of neutral where you can, maybe a supportive choice even. Maybe something along these lines. Now, I get that people will just say, oh, borrowed power, borrowed power. I do not want borrowed power. Borrowed power is one of the worst things in the game. Mainly because it stays with you for an expansion and then it's gone. Okay, it's ripped away from you, and all of that borrowed power is, although how much enjoyment you got out of it or how awful it felt, it's gone. And I think everyone enjoyed the borrowed power in Shadowlands. Everyone enjoyed pressing their covenant abilities, enjoyed the covenants and the different dynamics that they brought to every class. People didn't like the conduit system and how tough it was for ulting in this expansion, because you had to have an entire day job committed to World of Warcraft to have an ult in this expansion, and it was horrible. That's the problem that people had with that. And then obviously it getting ripped away at the end of the expansion is never fun. So hopefully there is a mechanic that will go on with us into the next expansions, going forward, like conduits or like the new talent trees and stuff, like hero talents. Hero talents are something that was brought in the War Within, and they are going to be going with us into Midnight. This is a mechanic, and this is what I hope for, more of these mechanics. Now, there is a point where it's like way too much. I get that. But it's always nice having something else to focus on rather than just, oh, new talent point. Okay, cool. But you don't want to be too overwhelming for the new player. And I get that. I really, really do. I also want to see a new class. Okay? So a new class that we had, or the last class that we had, was obviously an Evoker. Evokers was one expansion ago. Yeah? That's fine. Okay? Like Evoker, one expansion ago. If we don't get it now, we might get it in the last Titan. It is what it is. That's kind of being greedy. I get it. Because I don't think that they will add a new race. They might add a new allied race, obviously, but not one that is specific to any faction. Okay, what I mean by that is kind of like the Pandaria, where you could be both Horde and Alliance. Because if you do one allied race, you'll need a separate allied race for the other faction, so you'd need to introduce two. But I imagine that there will be a sort of neutral race that you can pick Horde or Alliance on at the start of it and go from there. That way they don't obviously have to do two races. I would love to see a new class. Okay, I really would. But I just don't. I think it's too early to ask for that. They sent out a survey several months ago, or a few months ago. No, several at this point, I think it is. And it had a list of so many different classes: celestial beings, tinkerers, necromancers, so many different things. And, we're going to see that eventually, I would imagine. But I think it's just too early to say, which is a bit of a shame. I would love for that to be a bombshell, being like, we are actually introducing a new class, as well as a new Demon Hunter spec, maybe. Just maybe. Who knows? That's what I would like to see.
Let's take a quick break.
Ever wondered what a rhythm-based stealth game with dinosaurs might look like? Or a farming sim in space with zombies? Welcome to the Gaming Blender podcast. I'm Matt, and with my co-host Scott, we take a random game genre and random game mechanics, blend them all up, and pitch wild, totally hypothetical games you've never heard of, and maybe shouldn't. New episodes every other week. Hit play and unleash your inner game dev. No coding required. Search the Gaming Blender on your favorite podcast app now.
I just don't know what class I would like to see. Maybe a new tank is most likely to happen, because evokers are very much damage and healers, so a tank spec for this class, potentially. I don't know, who knows. I always like the classes that have one DPS, one healer, one tank spec. I always find them the best ones, but who really knows what they'll come up with. It's a mystery. I do want to see dates for releases. Okay, now they're going to be vague about this. They will never do this. But they are going to be giving out a kind of date for a release. Okay, if they give out a specific date, even better. But I want to see date on releases for player housing, the expansion itself. I want to see Legion timewalking in that mix as well. I wanted to see an updated roadmap of everything. Okay, and this is going to be very important, because it's very much, we are on track to get all of this out with our previous roadmap, or it's very much, we are not on track. We are in the mud right now, and we need some real help to even get this out before end of the year kind of deal. So we'll very much see. And I think that, the expansion should be out by the end of the year, in my honest opinion. I believe that that's what they said would happen. So who knows? Player housing will definitely be out within the next few months. I highly doubt they're going to wait until December for player housing. I suspect it's going to be October, late October, early November player housing, as well as Legion Remix at the same time. Or do you spread these out? You might go Legion Remix a little bit earlier, maybe September, who knows? And we've decided to, give you guys something to do whilst you're waiting. Here is Legion Remix, and it's like, oh my god, amazing. Although I did hear about Legion Remix that they are not bringing back the Legion artifact towers, which I'm actually really upset about. The artifact and the mage tower was the best feature I think WoW has ever done. And I'm trying to think. Yeah, you know what? I think it is the best feature WoW has ever done in its existence. Okay, I'm going to stand on that one, because it was so challenging, but it was very doable still. And this is for the casual and hardcore players. It was tough for the hardcore players still, don't get me wrong, but the casual players could still do it. It was very challenging for them, but they could do it. And I thought that was amazing. They balanced it perfectly. For each spec, for each class, everything was perfect, okay? And it gave you some cool rewards. But if that's not in Legion Remix, I'll be a little bit upset. Even if you get different variations of it, no one's going to tell. Just a little bit of a little bit of that for us, Blizz. It would be appreciated. I also want to see PvP changes. I want them to sit down and have an entire segment about PvP. Okay? I get that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's going to be boring as hell. Yeah, sure, it's going to be boring for the PvEers, but how many times have we sat there as PvPers and said, oh, there's a new raid, yep, great. Oh, there's a new dungeon, yep, great, because we all love that as PvPers. You know, it's ridiculous. Like, we need something. And I want them to say, we are looking into the MMR system and we are actively going to change it for this next expansion as a sort of test run. Okay? I do not care if they use the entire expansion for a different MMR system for PvP. I really do not care. If it is a test run and it's awful, that's fine. I don't mind that, because they can go back to the drawing board and be like, this doesn't work, so let's try this now, let's try that. If it works, amazing, but it needs to be updated. We are running off of 2006 PvP MMR systems, okay? It doesn't work anymore. It straight up doesn't. I get that you want people to constantly compete throughout the season. Well, or feel like they should, because you're injecting a little bit of MMR each time. I promise you, if you open MMR up and you had a full, like, 5k scale, like 0 MMR to 5k, and you just allowed people to do what they want, you would see so much more activity in PvP throughout the rest of the season, throughout the entire season. I promise you will. And it's so much better for ults and stuff, because people will be like, oh, I don't have to wait till the end of the season to push anything. I can just do it now. And it will be so much better. I promise you, Blizzard, please just try something with PvP MMR changes. I beg you. But that is Gamescom. So it's going to start on the 19th of August. Be sure to tune in. And it's going to be on live streams, YouTube, Twitch and stuff on the official World of Warcraft account. And then obviously from then till the 24th, you're going to be having different things for World of Warcraft, like the deep dives and all of this stuff, just general stuff. There's also going to be sort of live stream showcases of player housing. So this is really cool. It's actually going to show people just building houses, how it works and stuff like that. There's going to be creator matches in the new Season 3 Mythic Dungeons and Delves. And there's going to be a cross-region arena bracket featuring the top 4 teams from AWC Season 2. Very nice. So, obviously, you're getting a bit of entertainment there. The player housing is one that I'm very curious to see. I've seen bits and bobs of it already, and I can tell you it's going to be amazing. I really wish that you can... I've not seen this, but I really hope that you can change the music inside your house. Okay? I hope that you can get a gramophone or whatever you might want, and you can just change the music to whatever you want from anywhere within Azeroth. Okay? That's all I hope for. Now, my throat's going a bit dry, but we kick on. I want to talk about Mr. Pandaria. Okay? Mr. Pandaria is better than Cataclysm, and I am really enjoying my time playing it. The reason I'm enjoying MoP a lot more is because Cataclysm, going from Classic to TBC to Wrath, is very much a Classic feel. Okay? Cataclysm is where they try and move it into the direction of retail. And it's a very janky and patchy version of retail. Okay? Mr. Pandaria makes this a lot cleaner. Okay, it cleans up the very rough edges that are Cataclysm. And this means that some classes and specs that are kind of neglected in Cataclysm or were very poorly designed get a bit more smoothing out and rounded out so that they are useful in raiding, in PvP and stuff like this. PvP-wise, I think it's some of the best PvP that WoW has to offer, Mr. Pandaria. I think it's quite well balanced. I think that obviously you're going to have the outliers as well. I think that warriors are always going to be very good in MoP Classic. Priests are always solid, these sort of things, but you're always going to have that. It's MMO balancing. It's one of them things. Now, the launch of Mr. Pandaria Classic. I don't think they realized just how much of a fuck up they were going to have. Because the very first quests in MoP Classic require you to get on a flying machine and shooting the opposite faction out of the ocean, the sky, or whatever. And vehicle combat, especially one that is what is it? It's on a set path. You can't go your own way, so you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people all clicking on this one little flying machine and then going on the exact same path, trying to shoot the exact same mobs. And it's not, you can see the problem. So it got to the point where the servers were constantly shutting down. They were constantly like turning off the servers or hotfixing them so that the quest was actually doable. In the end, they had to make it so that the quest, literally when you clicked on the flying machine, it auto-completed for you. That's how bad it had gotten, okay? So the launch, a little bit off to a rough start. The Jade Forest as a whole is the first zone that you spawn into, as both Horde and Alliance. That zone was hell on earth to play through in the first couple to a few hours, okay? Once you got further ahead and away from the absolute travesty that was the first quests, you were fine. The lag went away. There was still a little bit, obviously, because the servers were a bit slow, we'll say, but it was fine. I made it to the second zone a little bit after a couple hours, okay? And there was nothing. It was so smooth, the leveling. It felt like I was playing a completely dead realm. And I'm not. I'm playing one of the most populated realms in EU. But, it's absolutely crazy that they didn't foresee that problem, okay? Because it was so glaring that it was going to be a shit show, basically, on... Yeah, it was just going to be a shit show. It's quite funny to speculate. But anyways, Mob Classic, I've leveled, I've done my professions, I've done my farming. I think it's going to be a very solid expansion. Okay, I remember it quite fondly. I think a lot of people do. I think it's going to be a very solid expansion, and the raids are very good. They've already said to the players that they're going to keep the original release cadence. So we're going to be looking at 3 months of Mogushum Vaults, into 3 months of Heart of Fear, into 3 months of Throne of Thunder, and then 3 months into Siege of Orgrimmar. That's fine. That's a year. That brings us to August next year, when Waters of Draenor, maybe? Who knows? There was a survey that went out with that, saying if you'd want to go back to Classic or to transfer everything onto your retail characters and stuff like that, or if you want to go onto Warlords of Draenor and then Legion, etc., these sort of things. So time will tell with that. But honestly, I love doing the farming stuff in Mists of Pandaria. The dailies do get a bit tedious. I do have to say that. They really do. The farming, though, is amazing. For those of you that don't know, in Harfield, in Valley of the Four Winds, there is a small little farm. And this farm, you can basically do a quest or two. And it is your own personal farm. You get a certain amount of plots where you can plant your vegetables, your fruit and veggies, and essentially you can harvest them the next day. And this harvest allows you to do and level up your cooking profession. And it's absolutely amazing, to be honest. I'm currently at 12 sort of slots on my farm, and I'm currently harvesting a lot of herbs at the moment, which is amazing. It's great fun. I honestly remember this expansion so fondly. I have yet to do a lot of PvP, but I want to get into that, and we are starting our raiding next Sunday, my guild. So we're looking forward to that. We're allowing people to experience the expansion in a very calm manner. We're not going to rush people into raids or anything like that. But honestly, it's a very solid expansion. I would very much recommend checking it out and just take in the music, the scenery, just everything. I get that some people don't like the whole panda thing and all of that, but honestly, just chill with it. Chill with the expansion. It's such a good expansion. You just got to roll with it. Well, no pun intended, because of monks, being released. But honestly, it is a step up from Cataclysm. It really is. I do have to say sorry for those who went against me with the Cataclysm stuff. I was wrong in my initial judgment of it. Cataclysm is unfortunately one of the worst expansions. But yeah, I thought I'd give it a go, and that's all I wanted. All right, that's all I wanted people to do. Give it a go. If they liked it, which some people might have, if they gave it a go, then fair enough. But in my opinion, the more it dragged on, the worse it got, and it did drag on a while, which is quite a shame. But yeah, it's one hell of an expansion mop. Please do try it. I would very much recommend this. Thank you all very much for listening once again. And apologies again for last week. I really don't mean to miss a week, and I do try and keep people up to date if there is not going to be an episode or something has happened, etc. But either way, thank you all very much once again, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.